Okay, I want to make a video about different versions of arcade games and different versions of games in general, and really stress some important things that I think a lot of people don't realize with games. So basically, this is an example. Let's say that you want to play Sunset Riders, and you just figure, well, I'm gonna run the parent set in MAME, and it works, seems fine, whatever, right? But the takeaway from this video that I want you to get is you always want to go into games configuration settings. You always want to look at the dip switches. You always want to see what you can do with different games, because you might be surprised by what the default settings are. So this is an example of Sunset Riders, right? Here's a parent set. Okay, I go in here, and I go in with F2, or holding down F9 are usually ways to get into these things. Isn't this interesting? Look at how by default the game is actually set for mono sound. So 99% of the people on Earth who play Sunset Riders in MAME were playing with mono sound. So just so think about that. It's just something that you always want to look for, because very often with these games, the default setting is fucking dog shit, and you probably want to mess with it. And of course, you're going to want to set the, any game that you can to free play. Of course, you're going to want to set it to free play, because who wants to insert coins like a rube while you're playing a game? So that's just an example. And like I said, this isn't like it's just, oh, that's a Sunset Riders. Why are you making a big deal about this? It's actually incredibly common, especially with the Konami games. If I start Vendetta, let's see what's going on here. Let's go into Vendetta's configuration screen, and let's see what the game options are. Oh, it's mono. It's fucking mono. Wow. I mean, you see, so like I said, 99% of the people out there are playing games with fucking mono sound half the time. So you always want to look to see what's going on. And another thing I think that's really critical that you look at are the different, regions of games. So a really good example of this, let's start up the parent set, Alien vs. Predator, Capcom. The parent set in MAME, because it was made by Europeans, is the Euro version. And so if we go into the menu for this game, notice how, like, the coin options, I can cycle through all of them, right? And, weird. Like, there's, I can't set it to free play. I can't set the game to free play. Yet, if I run AVSPU, the United States American set, and then I go into the configuration screen. Oh, you can set this one to free play. So basically, if you're using the parent set in MAME for Alien vs. Predator, you're dumb and you're using a shitty version of the game. So see what I'm saying? Like, this is the case with almost everything. So really, if you're actually vigilant about the games that you have in your arcade cabinet or setup or whatever, you really do want to look at the different versions. And that's kind of like what I find interesting about like all killer no filler list that they have that's floating around of all the games, because they very often just list the parent set of the game. Whereas 9 times out of 10, you actually don't want to play the parent set. Like another example of this. So let's check out the Punisher, right? So probably not, 99.9% of the planet doesn't realize this, but in the world version of the Punisher, is actually not the best version of the game. It's actually missing a move that you can get in the Japanese version of the game. In the Japanese version of the game, they added an extra move, which is like a blue flaming kick that you do by rolling, jumping, and then doing a downward attack. So if I can do it, I'm using a keyboard, which kind of makes it. See that flaming kick? Ah, shit. Let me see if I can do it. See that flaming kick? You can't do that in the world version, and also there's see this down up a kick attack. You don't get the blue flame kick with the blood in the other versions of the game. So again, if you're not playing the Japanese version of the Punisher, you're dumb and you're not playing the best version. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, like, I'm not going to go through every game ever made because it would take me 17 hours. But the bottom line is, it matters which version you play. It really matters. And the general rule of thumb is, if you really don't need to read the text in a game, if the text in the game really doesn't matter, and it's like a Capcom game or a game that was made by Japanese people, generally speaking, you probably want to play the Japanese version. Like, they tend to be less censored, they tend to have extra stuff, they tend to have better enemy behavior that isn't as cheap. The American and European versions of Capcom games all have just horribly tuned enemy behavior, for the fighting games. Like, it's just fucking dog shit. So like I said, but I don't want to talk about specific games so much. I just want to just really stress that do this. Go into the configuration options of games. Try different regions of games. See what's going on. Because chances are that if you're just going with the world sets, I mean, I'll put it this way: world sets, are frequently, and I would even say probably are most often, not actually the best version of a game. Because think about it, most of these games weren't made in Europe. Most of these games are Japanese and American. For the most part, the American and Japanese versions of these games actually tend to be the best ones. So one final thing I'll leave you with too. So Viewpoint for the Neo Geo. I love Viewpoint for the Neo Geo. Again, if you go into the settings for the game, you'll notice that by default the game is alternating two players. So only one person can play at a time. One player dies, the other person can play. Change the settings, two players can play at once. And interestingly, like the AES version of Viewpoint was locked on alternating two players, and so it blows a big flesh flute. So of course you always want to play the arcade version of Viewpoint, where you can actually play two players at once. But again, the other flip side of it, the AES version of Soccer Brawl is actually better than the MVS version of Soccer Brawl, because by some weird twist of fate, the MVS version of Soccer Brawl is actually censored, and the AES version isn't censored. So it is. I mean, the thing is, like I said, I probably should. I don't really want to make a video for it because I really don't want to spend like the time it would take. It would seriously take fucking hours for me to go through everything, because there are literally like hundreds of cases like this, of all of this minutia, all these version differences. It's in my head, I know all this stuff, but it would just take a really long fucking time to make a video of it all. But the bottom line is, I'm just saying, this is what I want you to take away from it. Don't just assume that everything is hunky-dory. Look at the settings. Try different versions. I mean, like once you pick the games that you want to put on your arcade cabinet or whatever, do a search on the internet. See, look for regional differences. Look into it. See which version you actually want to pick. Because, like I said, the parent set in MAME, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be the best version of the game. Yeah.